Hi everybody, I'm Natalie with Missouri Star Quilt Company, and today I have a great quilt to show you how to make. If you check it out, this is the quilt. It is called Briar Patch, and I named it that because it has some sharp edges, and as you know, a briar is a flower that has some thorns. It's kind of pokey, and I thought that was really cute. This quilt is super easy to make. I think you're gonna love it, so let me show you how to do that. So to make this quilt, you're gonna need 1 packet of 10-inch squares, and I've used Oceanica by Christiane Marques for Robert Kaufman. You'll also need some background yardage, about 4 1/4, and I've used a Kona white. For your backing, you'll need about 5 yards. This quilt is perfect for like a twin bed or a picnic quilt. It's pretty good sized. I use this beautiful fish fabric for the back. It's just really pretty. Got a lot of great colors in it. The size of this quilt is 60 by 81. And again, it's just a great decent size. You could obviously make it bigger if you wanted to add some borders, but I thought it looked great just as it is. All right, so let's get into the construction. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut some background yardage, and we're going to cut 9-inch strips from our background. So we'll get that done. And when I'm cutting in a small space, I like to fold my yardage in half lengthwise so that I can cut through the whole length of it without having to use a giant table. You just want to make sure that your selvage and your folds are folded up nice and straight, or you'll end up with an elbow. But in this case, that won't matter too much because we're going to subcut using the wing template. So we're going to cut 9 inches, and that is there. We'll set that aside. So other helpful tools that you'll need for this quilt are the simple wedge, the large simple wedge template, and the matching wing template, also in large. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cut our wings out of this background yardage, and that will line up just perfectly on that 9-inch strip. And because we're using white and it doesn't have a front or a back, it doesn't matter which way they're oriented. You're just going to cut them all out the same, and they will work for both sides of this block. All right, so when you're cutting out your simple wedges, your triangles from your print squares, you're going to put the point of the template into the corner, and that's how we'll get 2 cuts. Sometimes when you look at it, you think, how is that even possible? But they fit. Let's cut down the middle, pull that out, and you'll see that you can get another one right here in this corner, and it's pretty perfect. So you have very little waste on this project. All right, so now we're going to take these 2 matching triangles. We're going to put our wings on both sides, and these line up just like that. So when you go to sew them, you're going to line up this little notch down here with the bottom triangle edge. I don't know if you can see that. So this point right here lines up with the edge of the triangle. You'll have a little bit over here at the top, but that's okay because that creates your seam allowance. All right, so let's go ahead and stitch this together. Press this back real quick and then stitch on the other side. And to line up this other side, you're going to do the same thing, keeping the wide point of the wing template at the top and lining up this notched edge with the edge of your triangle. And you'll see how this lines up here as well. And I usually flip this around and start from the bottom. I like to keep my wing on the top so I can see where it is. Keep it lined up. Go ahead and give that another press. So you'll do that to both of your triangles, but I'm going to show you the next step here. This should measure about 9 inches by about 7 3/4. I'm not going to square it because this block is going to get cut into thirds and then we're going to stitch it back together. If your block is within 1/4 of an inch, you don't have to worry about that, that amount of difference. But if your block measures shorter for some reason or a different size, you can just divide by 3 and cut 3 strips that are the same size. So most of mine came out at 9, so I'm going to do 3 3-inch strips. All right. And I just go along and make those 2 cuts, and they're all going to match up. And then this is where the magic happens. You're just going to swap these strips. This one comes up to the front. They basically just go in reverse order, and we're going to stitch those back together. So then this one goes up to this side. All right, so let's press this block. And because we get 2 blocks out of each print square, you're going to have these matching blocks. And what I'm going to do is sew those together to create the entire rectangular block that looks like it took a lot of work, but it's so easy. I think they're really fun. I could imagine this in lots of different fabrics. All right, so we're going to give this a quick press, and then I will show you how we put this quilt together. So these just go in horizontal rows. Because they're rectangular, they have to be side by side, and you can't really flip them around easily. But I did alternating rows, so we have an A row and a B row. A row is 4 across, and then the B row is 3, and you'll notice that there's a little patch of background fabric here. So mine, what I did is I measured half the block. Mine all measured 7 3/4 by 8 inches. And so that is the size that I cut to put my quilt together. Now, if your blocks measure a little bit differently, you can just cut your background square to half the size of this block, whatever your measurement is, and then your quilt will go together flawlessly. You won't have any trouble putting it together. So we did 7 3/4 by 8. You're going to start and end with a background square, and then all of these rows go together really smoothly. We've got 4 across by 12 down, and I did a little bit of a gradient. I like the dark to light pattern, but you can really play around with that and do it however you like. I went ahead and quilted it with Fancy Fish because I thought with this Oceanica fabric, it was just such a fun quilting pattern, and I just think it turned out great. So that's it. It's super easy and fun. I hope that it inspires you and that you get creative this week with your quilting. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Briar Patch quilt from Missouri Star Quilt Company. Thank you so much for joining me for this video today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it inspired your creativity. And guys, we're at almost 1 million quilters strong in our community. So if you know of anybody that you think might like to join us and learn quilting with us, bring them on in, put your arm around them, and tell them to subscribe to our channel so that we can all learn and grow together.